Okay, y'all. So we're continuing on with my top 10 NFL receivers in the sport today. Gotta stop stuttering so much. But here we go. Okay, so we left off with number 7 being Braylon Edwards. Now number 6 is none other than the always exciting Electric 83. Some people call him the Frisbee. Some people call him VJ. I call him Vincent Jackson from the San Diego Chargers. Reason why I like Vincent Jackson and what makes him my number 6 receiver on my list is because just of the excitement that he brings. You know, he's kind of like an action star. You know what you're gonna get out of this guy. You know he's gonna leave you on the edge of your seat every time you see him play, and he's been involved in some of the most exciting plays in San Diego Chargers games. And I've also checked out a couple of highlights of his here on YouTube as well, and just from what I've seen from those highlights, this completely blew me away. So, one thing about Vincent Jackson is that this guy does not get the credit that he deserves, and that really bothers me because, people want to talk about how he's mediocre and, he's just good, but he's not great. I mean, I don't understand how this guy is not great. I mean, when you look at highlights or countdown shows of biggest game-winning touchdowns or whatever, or biggest clutch plays in the NFL, this guy always seems to come up on that list. He might not be in the top 5 or the top 3, but he at least is in the top 10. So how does that not make him great? How does that make him mediocre? How does that make him just a good receiver? As far as I'm concerned, I don't know what kind of tea y'all been stirring, or what kind of aroma y'all been smelling, or what y'all been smelling, period. But whatever it is, it sure enough stinks. I'm gonna tell you that much, because y'all have got to be brain dead if you don't think that Vincent Jackson is a great receiver. But aside from all of that, I just had to express my opinion on why I don't think this guy is getting enough credit in the NFL. But anyway, I like him. I think as the year goes on, as his time goes on, I should say, with the San Diego Chargers, I believe he's going to get even better. I believe he's going to have an even better year than he had this past season because, as you know, he got into some personal issues outside of football, and that led to him being suspended for a little while. So he was kind of off the scene. But next year, hopefully, he can get himself together and be able to participate throughout the entire season. And hopefully, the Chargers will be a serious contender in the AFC, because I think they deserve it. They're a great team, very balanced team. So I'm expecting nothing but big things from the Chargers next year, especially Vincent Jackson. I'm expecting Vincent Jackson to have a breakout year. I expect him to be breaking some franchise records and team records, or being the team's leading receiver or whatever, because this guy has the ability to do it. From what I've seen, this guy is ultra talented and very electrifying. Hence the name Electrifying 83. And I think that's a good name for him, because he does bring that every time he comes on the field. So Vincent Jackson, he's number 6 for me. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. We're down to the top five, the Furious Five, the nitty gritty, whatever you want to call it. But here we go. I'm about to name the best of the best right here. Okay? So number 5, we have none other than what I call the Playmaker 2.0, Santonio Holmes. The man who's, I ain't gonna say single-handedly, but he is the man that won the Super Bowl for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Sure, Big Ben, he made the pass, but Santonio Holmes caught that pass. And that was probably the greatest catch I've ever seen, or the greatest touchdown, game-winning touchdown I've ever seen in my life. That's just me. That's the best I've ever seen. In a championship game, that's the best I've ever seen. Bottom line. Bottom line. It's not really too much to say about Santonio Holmes, you know? I mean, the guy, he's just great. I mean, he just makes big plays. You know, he's always there at the end of games. And he's just awesome. I mean, there's not too much you can say about it. You know, the guy is just clutch. He's ice cold. You know, he can he just, I don't know, man. I mean, it's not too much to say about this guy. I mean, he's just great. That's it. That's it, man. He just makes big catches and wins big games, and that's about it. Now, unfortunately, he came up on the short end of the stick with the Jets this year, but in our heart of hearts as football fans, we know what Santonio Holmes is capable of. Seriously. Like, in my opinion, and this is not to show any disrespect to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but in my opinion, I believe Santonio Holmes made Pittsburgh what it is. For real. He made Pittsburgh what it is. Seriously. Like, for real. Santonio Holmes was the man in Pittsburgh. Like, you know how they name all of these cities after all these superstars? Like, when Michael Vick came to Philadelphia and he started taking over after Donovan McNabb left, they would rename it Vickadelphia. Well, that's kind of how it was with Santonio Holmes. Like, when Santonio Holmes was with the Steelers, they should have renamed Pittsburgh Holmesburg. Because I'm telling you, man, he was the one that brought the excitement to that city. Trust me. Trust me. But yeah, man, that's my number 5 right there. Santonio Holmes. That's my dude. For real. Like him, I love him. And he's still gonna keep making big catches. Still. Okay? Alright, number 4. Number 4 on my list of my top 10 is going to be none other than Sidney Rice from the Minnesota Vikings. What makes Sidney Rice great to me is his athleticism. I mean, it's just his the way he extends his body in the air when he catches passes in the open field. It's just great to watch, you know. And if you're a defensive back, like, how do you handle that? I mean, sure, it's different strategies you could try, you know. Like, you could tackle him in midair. you can try to out jump him and pick it off, or I don't know, or you might just have to take him out of bounds or something. But as long as he is near that end zone or in the open field, if he's just able to extend his body and catch the ball over you, then he's gonna score. Bottom line, he's gonna score. That's just it. He's just that dangerous that if he catches that ball in the open field, he's going to score. That's just it. And that's why he's my number 4 choice on my list. So there you have it. Sidney Rice. Minnesota Vikings. One of my favorite teams in the NFC, by the way. Number 3. Number three. Okay, now, this list was very hard to comprise, and I really had to think really, really hard about putting this list together because I didn't want to be ordinary with everybody else. Because on most people's lists you see guys like Deshaun Jackson and Chad Ochocinco and Terrell Owens and all of the ordinary guys. Well, I wanted to take some of those guys that people like to talk about, and then I wanted to take some of the guys that people don't talk about enough. So I wanted to kind of keep it balanced on my list. Like I wanted to have the I'm not gonna say overappreciated, but I wanted to have the recognizable and the underrated. I'll say that. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I wanted to have the recognized and underrated. So, with that being said, my number 3 choice is a recognizable name and a receiver who a lot of people feel should be the top receiver in the NFL, but he didn't have such a good year this year. But nevertheless, he still made my top 3. I like him a lot, mostly because of his toughness in games, able to play through injuries, and that is none other than Andre Johnson from the Houston Texans. Now, we know that Andre Johnson has been injury prone throughout most of this season. I mean, he played in most of the games he was supposed to play in, but certain games he was certain games he missed or whatnot. And but the way this guy, just plays through injuries, like even if he does tweak his ankle or leg or something, like he'll just completely ignore it and he'll go sit out the game for a couple of seconds on the sidelines and then he'll come back in, sometimes even hobbling, and he'll still make the big passes and score. And that's what I admire like so much. He is just so doggone tough, and you could respect that in a receiver. And I like that because most receivers, they're not known for being too tough. Most receivers, when they get hurt, that's just it. They take them out of the game and then you're scratching your head wondering what you're going to do next. But Andre Johnson is just one of those few guys that, is up there as far as toughness is concerned. Now, my last 2 is none other than Larry Fitzgerald and Roddy White. What else could be said about those 2? Peace.